My name is Sancho, Leon County Supervisor of Elections. I've been the Supervisor of Elections for Leon County for over 20 years. I am one of 3 nonpartisan Supervisor of Elections in the state of Florida. All of the rest are partisan. And I'd like to talk today about the election legislation which the House and the Senate has recently presented. Not to the public, because the public's ability to talk on it was curtailed, but Senate Bill 956 was a shell bill. That means it was simply a number with nothing behind it until on Wednesday, April 15th, on Tuesday, until Tuesday, April 14th, when Senator Alex de la Portilla put in a 78-page amendment completely rewriting Florida's election code. I immediately received a copy of that Tuesday night and started analyzing it, and I will tell you that I would call this the Florida Voter Suppression Act of 2009. Let me begin by telling you that the November 2008 election was the smoothest election with the largest turnout I have ever seen administered in the state of Florida. I have had the honor and privilege of supervising 5 presidential elections, and this one had the highest turnout, a turnout equaling that of 1992, with the fewest problems. We didn't have the kinds of problems we had in 2000, 2004 of disenfranchising voters, and largely that's because the reforms that have been put in place following the 2000 election are finally kicking in and working. Could they be better? Yes. But I will tell you again that this election was the best election that the Supervisor of Elections have administered in the state of Florida in my memory. And what did the Florida Supervisor of Elections and the citizens of the state get as a reward for conducting the best election since the debacle, let's say, of 2000? What we saw was that the citizens of the state are going to be put upon by the Florida legislature to make it harder to register to vote, to make it harder to vote, and to make it harder to petition our government, because that's what this bill entails. Again, this is Senate Bill 956 with amendments in the Senate, and currently they haven't even named the House version. It's PCB EDCA 09-08. And these bills, let me begin by telling you the problems that it causes, making it harder for citizens to register to vote. For example, the largest group that provides voter registrations to the Supervisor of Elections office are done by volunteer groups like the League of Women Voters, Rock the Vote, and dozens of community groups all across the state. This bill would subject nonpartisan groups like this to serious penalties and fines if they, in fact, do not adhere to a very strict schedule, including turning in every voter registration application within 48 hours of it being filled. This is a death blow to volunteer organizations and student groups. I depend upon the fraternities and sororities in student government at Florida State University, at Florida A&M, and at TCC to make sure that those citizens are properly registered. We simply don't have the manpower to conduct the 100 to 30 to 150 voter registration drives that are necessary to make sure that the largest percentage of registered voters in our population exists before Election Day. And here, this law would make it almost impossible for these nonpartisan groups, and I've talked to members of the League of Women Voters, and they don't think they can comply with this and continue registering voters. So right off the bat, the voter registration process and accessibility of it for all of our citizens are negatively impacted.